I would like to knock out my next opponent or TKO him. That would be nice.
Merab Dvalishvili had fans buzzing the moment he said this upcoming showdown was going to feel like a war, and that single claim sent shockwaves through the build-up to UFC 323.
So first couple fights when I start fighting in my country, I was throwing hands, but I was just fighting from the instincts. But now I'm much clearer, and I hit and I don't get hit.
The reigning bantamweight champion wasn't trying to sell drama, he simply knew what he was walking into. As he prepared for his fourth title defense of 2025, the Georgian powerhouse had his eyes locked on Petr, a former champion who had been waiting years for another crack at gold. Even though Dvalishvili had beaten Jan convincingly in their first meeting nearly 3 years earlier, he wasn't pretending the rematch would look anything like the past. He expected an intense battle, one where both men would have to push themselves harder than before, and that mindset shaped the way he talked about the fight throughout fight week.
Probably like the same way he beat him before, probably just by pressure and like get past it. Well, Jan's a great striker. I could see Jan winning too, but it's only like if he puts him out or something, I think, because I don't think he beats him on the ground. So I think if he keeps on the feet, he'll win. But I feel like Merab's pressure is just like overwhelming and like gasses everyone out, like along with the striking, because he could catch you too. But he's not going to put Jan down, I don't think. So I think it's just by pressure that he beats him.
Going into their second meeting, Dvalishvili stood as a large betting favorite, sitting at -500, while Jan entered as a +340 underdog. Those numbers said a lot about how dominant the champion had been during his title run, but they didn't influence the way he approached the task. The stakes were bigger now. He wasn't only trying to defend his belt, he was trying to make history. Claiming a fourth title defense in a single calendar year would be something no UFC fighter had ever achieved, and he seemed almost energized by that possibility. He kept mentioning how he had set personal goals for the year, and reaching them meant stepping into the cage and handling every challenge placed in front of him.
The only way I see Jan beating him is Merab's getting confident in his hands. You know, he damn near knocked out Corey Sandhagen, but he's punching more. He did it with Umar too, where he was, you know, kind of throwing some more combos. And he did it with Corey. Peter's someone you got to be careful with, like keeping your chin up, because he'll capitalize. He's got such good counters. He's fast. He'll sit in the pocket. He'll trade. But Merab's just, I think his fight IQ is smarter than his regular IQ, and he's got a good fight IQ. So I think he's gonna go up. I don't think he's gonna necessarily sit and try to trade with him, but you never know.
So ultimately, you're leaning towards Merab unless he kind of falls in love with the striking and gets caught.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I'm thinking. I
think he's the fighter of the year if he wins this fight. 4 title defenses in a calendar year is kind of crazy, right?
How could you not be? I mean, 100% fighter of the year. That's super impressive. It's insane.
That mindset had carried him from January to December. Earlier in the year, he had already outworked Umar Nurmagomedov, surprised fans by submitting Sean O'Malley in June, and then scored another gritty decision win over Corey Sandhagen in October. With each victory, his confidence grew, and so did his belief that his unmatched work rate separated him from everyone else in the division. His 14-fight winning streak, along with the fact that he hadn't tasted defeat since 2018, told the story of someone who had figured out a style that could overwhelm almost anyone. But despite all of that, he still refused to treat Jan as anything less than a major threat.
One punch and one little mistake can change anything, especially against Petr Yan. He's a dangerous opponent. I'm just gonna train hard. I will be ready for worse. I believe I can make it look easy. Hopefully he's a better person now. It's gonna be a good fight. He's a former champion.
Yan had earned this rematch after slowly rebuilding himself. His last title opportunity had ended in disappointment when he lost to Aljamain Sterling at UFC 273, but the Russian contender didn't fold under the pressure of that setback. Instead, he turned things around with a disciplined 3-fight winning streak, each victory coming by decision. He showed patience, sharp adjustments, and a level of technical composure that reminded everyone why he once held the belt. Now, armed with that momentum and a full camp dedicated to facing the wrestler who smothered him before, he arrived at UFC 323 determined to change the story.
If somehow Petr Yan is able to knock him out, like this could go down as one of the greatest comebacks of all time.
No, relax. Come on. Let's not act like Petr Yan wasn't the champion before. He was.
Yeah, but...
And he's still been on the tear.
I 100% agree with you. But, dude, he got 50-45 controlled, bro. Like you got to look at the stats. If he is able to get a victory over Merab Dvalishvili, bantamweight division is a little tricky, dude, but that could put him up there as one of the greats in that weight division.
For Yan, the mission wasn't only about reclaiming the title, it was also about erasing the memory of their previous fight. He wanted to prove that the version of him who struggled to stay upright against Dvalishvili's constant pressure wasn't the version that defined him. Throughout the build-up, he talked about wanting to end things quickly, wanting a finish that made the result obvious to everyone watching. For him, a fast stoppage would leave no room for endless debates or questions. He believed he possessed every tool he needed to make that happen, and he walked into fight week with a level of conviction that made the matchup even more intriguing.
Oh, Petr Yan, you didn't like Petr Yan?
Oh, I don't like Petr Yan.
Why?
Because, well, let me tell you a little quick story. So, Petr Yan was in UFC winning some fights, and then I think we was in Arizona or somewhere, and then I saw him in a hotel, and I don't think he even knows me, but I was with Aljo, and I look him other side, and he looking at us like a bully, you know?
Really?
To kill us. I'm like, bro, who are you? What do you want? Like,
Yeah.
That mindset paired naturally with the style he brought to the octagon. Yan's boxing had always been praised. He was known for tight combinations, precise counters, and an ability to track opponents with smart movement. Fighters often struggled to find openings against him because of how he timed his engagements. But Dvalishvili's strengths posed a unique challenge. The champion thrived in chaotic environments, using never-ending pressure, messy scrambles, and suffocating wrestling to keep his opponents reacting instead of leading. That contrast in styles created a clear theme. If Yan could maintain distance long enough to land something meaningful early, the night could turn in his favor. If he couldn't, he ran the risk of being buried under the same relentless pace that had broken so many others.
Speaking of his opponents with incredible striking, he's coming up against Petr Yan once again, the former champion. They've both leveled up since that first fight a couple of years ago. Do you see this matchup going any differently?
Okay. So there's always a puncher's chance in every fight.
Yeah.
Okay. Him shooting at the same time, Petr decides to throw a knee. It could happen. It can happen in any fight against anyone. But let's take that tidbit out of the equation. I don't see it going any different. I think he's gotten defensively more sound with his striking. I think he's much more comfortable striking and mixing it in with the takedowns. And once he establishes takedowns, his striking's going to look better for it. And that's what he did against Sandhagen. That's what he did against all the other guys he's come across. It's just, I don't see where the avenue for victory is. You have to out Merab. And that is, he's special. Like I don't think there are two of him in the world, you know. He shot like north of 40 times in their first meeting. So I don't see where that avenue of victory lies for Petr. And he's a great fighter, don't get me wrong. I just don't know where he beats Merab.
One of the people who understood the difference in their styles better than most was Sean O'Malley. He had experienced the accuracy and timing of Yan in a back-and-forth striking match that helped elevate him toward his own title shot, but he had also felt the weight and non-stop pressure of Dvalishvili later on. After losing his belt to the Georgian champ and falling short again in their rematch, O'Malley spoke openly about the unique challenges both fighters presented. What caught his attention for this particular rematch was something many casual fans overlook: the size of the cage.
It's a tricky one, because Yan, the thing is with Sandhagen and you is that you're movers. You move about, you're shifting, you're hard to get shots off on. Once the shots are in, you know, Merab's likely going to get those shots off. But with Petr Yan, he's so there, he's kind of a bit more stationary, high and tight guard. So he's there to get on the hips of, which is why you saw Merab shoot fucking 50 takedowns in 25 minutes on him. Get 11 of them, but it doesn't matter because you spend half the fight defending takedowns that don't even work. It's a tricky test. One thing I will say about the Yan Merab fight though, both guys were injured going into it. I challenge people to go back and watch Yan versus Merab 1 and count how many times Yan throws his right hand in that fight. It's minimal. It's very minimal. Yeah, he keeps that close to him. He barely lets go of it. So I'm wondering if there's some kind of injury going on here. So that could be a little spin of a narrative. I reckon it'll be a closer fight, but it's hard to doubt Merab at this point, dude. He's paving his way onwards.
Who do you think's improved most since their last fight?
Oh my god, dude, that's a good question, because Petr has improved a ton since that last fight. I mean, he went out there. I think he beat Figueiredo. He beat Song Yadong. Did he just have those two fights?
And then he just beat Marcus. Yeah.
Oh, and Marcus McGee. Petr has looked really good. Definitely looks like he's improved. Merab has improved, I would say, more than anybody. After that first fight with me, I feel like him going to that Umar fight, he leveled up a ton. And then after the Umar fight, like the second time I fought him, I feel like from the first time I fought him to the second time I fought him, it was only 8 months. I regret having surgery and fighting a machine like that after fucking 8 months. It was probably not one of the smartest moves I've done, especially against a fucking machine like Merab.
Another voice who weighed in with strong confidence was Ethan Ewing. He leaned heavily toward Dvalishvili, describing him as a fighter who competed like someone who didn't recognize the concept of slowing down. Watching him against Sandhagen earlier in the year convinced Ewing that the champion had elevated his skill set even further. He felt Yan's boxing and movement were dangerous, but he kept returning to the question of whether Yan could repeatedly deny the takedowns and pressure long enough to turn the fight into a striking contest. He used Sandhagen's defensive success as a reference point, noting that Sandhagen managed to stay upright at moments but never delivered the type of finishing threat that might have shifted the momentum. Yan, in Ewing's view, had better instincts in those windows, which made the matchup interesting. Still, he believed the champion had yet to be solved.
I don't know if anybody has the answer for Merab yet. I'll be totally honest. His kind of unhinged and unbridled just ability to fully get after it and have a crazy gas tank. His wrestling abilities, he just poses such a threat that it would be very difficult for many people to shut that down. Now I know Petr Yan is a very talented fighter. He's got some of the dopest striking and boxing in the UFC. He has a fantastic ground game as well. So we'll see. We'll see where his preparation is. If he can shut down the grappling, then sky's the limit. I think Corey Sandhagen did a really good job of that. He just wasn't able to recapitalize when he was on the feet. So it's always hard. You always kind of get excited that somebody may be able to take the crown, but I don't think anybody has figured out Merab quite yet.
Jamahal Hill, who openly admitted he held a personal fondness for Dvalishvili, added his own perspective as well. Even with that bias, he didn't think he was overestimating the champion's abilities. In his eyes, Dvalishvili belonged in a special category of current title holders, those who seem to have created a significant gap between themselves and the rest of their divisions. Hill put him alongside athletes like Alexandra Pantoja and Ilia Topuria, fighters who appeared to operate on a different level entirely. Hill felt Dvalishvili's performances across the year offered enough proof to place him in that elite group, and he saw the rematch with Yan as another opportunity for the champion to reinforce that status.
Yeah, I'm going with Merab, bro. Merab is just operating on a different level right now. The one out of everybody, out of all the champions right now that are just operating at a different level above their weight classes, I'd have to say Merab has probably got the biggest gap between him and his competition. I don't know. I'd say it's a tie between him, Pantoja, and Topuria. When Georgian boys came up and caught on, well, I like Georgia. I need to go there. I'm gonna take a trip out there. I'm gonna pull up the guys.
Walter Walker's thoughts aligned closely with Hill's. He found the rematch compelling, but viewed Dvalishvili as someone entering a phase where very few contenders could truly test him. He even let his imagination wander, envisioning how incredible a future matchup between Dvalishvili and someone like Pantoja could be. The idea of two relentless fighters, each dominating their division, colliding someday fascinated him. It wasn't a fight that could happen now, given weight class differences, but it was the kind of stylistic clash that captured fan interest.
Yeah, this fight is good, but I think Merab gonna win again. Merab right now on his level, I don't see nobody who gonna win him. For me, interesting if he fight with Pantoja, you know, Pantoja, the champion. I think it's gonna be interesting fight. I would like to watch Pantoja versus Merab. One fight like
Carter's Prates didn't go into deep technical analysis, but his belief in the champion was rooted in something simpler: Dvalishvili's engine. He emphasized how rare it was for any fighter to maintain such a punishing pace, insisting that alone put the champion in a position where most opponents couldn't keep up long enough to survive. He wasn't someone who watched every matchup with heavy tactical focus, But he didn't need detailed breakdowns to recognize that a gas tank like Dvalishvili's changed fights in ways that stats and predictions couldn't always capture.
Bro, I think Merab. I don't watch too much, but I know he have a lot of cardio, and I think Merab is gonna win.
Umar Nurmagomedov brought a different level of weight to the conversation. He wasn't speaking as an observer, he was speaking as someone who had been inside the cage with the champion earlier in the year and experienced firsthand what Dvalishvili's pressure could do. That bout had given Umar his first professional loss at UFC 311, and he carried that memory with him into his own preparations for a return fight against Mario Bautista at UFC 321. When discussing the upcoming rematch, he gave Yan credit for his explosive moments and his ability to finish opponents when he found his openings. But he had concerns about Yan's defensive habits and grappling exchanges. He believed that unless Yan stopped Dvalishvili early, the fight could quickly tilt into the familiar grind where Dvalishvili excelled. Watching the champion's evolution across the year, especially the Sandhagen fight, convinced Umar that Dvalishvili had moved into an even more dangerous version of himself.
Showy wrestle all night, and it's a very big trouble for Petr. He don't have good defense, but he have good arms. He can do TKO, but if it's not gonna be TKO, I think Merab gonna maul him.
Ayman Zahabi also stepped into the discussion with an angle many people had overlooked. He recalled that Yan had previously mentioned entering their first fight with a compromised right hand, which explained why the Russian barely threw it during the match. Zahabi admitted he hadn't realized that until Yan brought it up, and that piece of information made him reevaluate how different the rematch could look if Yan arrived fully healthy. He also highlighted a subtle stylistic detail. Taller fighters like Sandhagen gave wrestlers easier access to their hips, while shorter, more compact fighters like Yan often made entries more difficult. That could alter how frequently Dvalishvili managed to get clean takedown attempts. Despite seeing potential adjustments from Yan, Zahabi still viewed Dvalishvili's momentum as a major obstacle for anyone trying to dethrone him.
Yeah, I thought it was very interesting when Petr Yan mentioned that if you look back at the fight, he didn't use his right hand, and I hadn't noticed until he mentioned it. So we might see a completely different fight. We may, who knows? But I really love that matchup. I think it's going to be an action-packed fight. I think it's going to be hard for Merab to cycle through the takedowns the way he did with Corey Sandhagen against Petr Yan, and I'm only saying that based on the fact that Petr Yan is a little bit shorter, and it's going to be harder for him to get in those hips at the same, frequency as he did with someone who's much taller. So it's going to be it's easier to get in on taller guys, and I think with Petr Yan it might be a little bit harder. And if he was right and his hand was compromised the first time, he might have a surprise for Merab. But I really think Merab is he's been on fire, and he's going to be hard to beat for anybody. And I can't wait to watch that fight.
With all these opinions circulating, the rematch takes on multiple layers. The champion wants to solidify a historic year, defend the belt for the 4th time, and continue a streak that has become one of the longest in the sport. The challenger wants redemption, closure, and another shot at proving he belonged at the top of the division. And in the center of all of it stands the simple truth that both men have evolved. Dvalishvili has sharpened the chaos he brought into every fight, turning his relentless style into a polished system that broke opponents over time. Yan has rebalanced himself after setbacks, rebuilding through discipline and showing that the skill that once made him champion had never gone away. Whether the fight turns into the war Dvalishvili expected or the quick finish Yan hopes for, UFC 323 offers a rematch layered with unfinished business, renewed confidence, and two contrasting styles colliding under the brightest lights.